Good morning, Ramesh.
Yeah.
Yesterday you took us through the start of the universe, the creation of the universe.
Yes.
Today I'd like to ask you some questions on how us human beings fit into the picture. How does it happen that human beings become part of this manifestation, and what is their function?
Basically, Mutribo, and I think this fact people forget. That's why most of the confusion. Basically and fundamentally, a human being cannot be anything other than, I repeat, basically, a human being cannot be anything other than an object. Manifestation is the totality of all the objects, all the different species of objects, but object nonetheless. So basically, a human being can never be anything more than a particular species of object. Basic species again, animate and inanimate. Absence of life or presence of life. Basic distinction. An animal is as much of a sentient being as a human being. Sentient being means where there are senses through which seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching happens, and sentience or consciousness which functions through those senses. So my basic point is a human being is a uniquely programmed object or an instrument through which consciousness or the primal energy functions and brings about at any moment, at any place, through any human body, mind, organ, precisely that which is supposed to be brought about according to, let us say, God's will or a cosmic law. Basically, this is what the functioning of manifestation or life as we know it happens. I repeat, what is happening in life is the primal energy or consciousness functioning through every sentient object or instrument, each uniquely programmed, so that at any moment, whatever happens through any human being, at any moment, at any place, is precisely that which is supposed to happen according to a cosmic law. If we talk in terms of God, what I say is, whatever anybody thinks he or she is doing is, according to my concept, nothing more than precisely what God wants to bring about to every human being. In other words, what I am saying is basically, according to my concept, no one is a doer. And that precisely is the cause or the bondage itself.
So what you're saying is that no one has any free will whatsoever.
No one has any free will whatsoever. Then your question would be, without free will, how can a human being function? Isn't that right? Mm-hmm. Answer to that is, human being functions in life as if he is the doer. So my point is, it is possible for a human being to totally accept this basic concept. No one is a doer. Everything happens according to God's will, through the primal energy functioning through every body-mind instrument, and whatever one seems to be doing is exactly happening according to the cosmic law. In other words, it is God functioning through every human being, producing any act whatsoever, good, bad or indifferent. And if this basic concept is at least, I won't say kept in mind, but at least understood, then with that total basic concept understood, no one is a doer. Then the human being, whenever he thinks he has to act, he should act. The deepest understanding being, he is not the act. Whatever he may want to do, whatever may be his intention to do, it cannot happen unless God makes it happen. Therefore, very simply, what do I do? Do whatever you think you should do.
But before we get there, Ramesh,
Yeah.
this is a very challenging and difficult concept or truth for any normal human being to accept.
Yes.
that he is not the doer.
Yeah.
People are brought up to believe that they are responsible for their actions,
Yes.
and they do have control. What would you say to someone with such objections?
That a human being is not easily able to accept this basic concept. That's what you mean.
Yes.
And that is exactly what God wants to be. God does not want every human being to accept this basic understanding that he is not the doer. With that understanding, if it happens so in case of every human being, then very simply life as we know it would not happen. Life as we know it now happens because each human being thinks he is the doer. Each human being has interhuman relationships with one another. Interhuman relationships are based on doership. In other words, what I am saying is, life as we know it cannot happen unless the basis of life is interhuman relationships. And interhuman relationships cannot happen in the absence of egos, the me in each case, identified with a particular body-mind organism as a me doer, the ego doer. That is the basis of the human being. The human being in functioning of life is an ego, generally termed the ego, which is identification with a particular body-mind organism as an individual separate entity, me, totally different from you, he or she. And it is on this basis, identification as a separate entity, interhuman relationship between different entities, which is the basis of life. In other words, what I am saying is, for life to happen, interhuman relationships are necessary. For interhuman relationships to happen, each body-mind organism having a separate ego as a separate entity is necessary. Therefore, the happening of the ego is itself the basic creation, a divine hypnosis, necessary for life to happen. So, my first point is, it's no use blaming the human being for thinking in terms of a separate entity. That is precisely what he is supposed to do according to the rules of the game. He is supposed to think he is a separate entity. Then where is the point? Point is, functioning in life as a separate entity, the separate entity, because of the separateness, suffers. Then, a few of the entities at least will wonder, why is he suffering? He is suffering because he considers himself a separate entity. Is it necessary to feel the separate entity? So, in other words, this, what we call spiritual seeking happens in a limited number of cases. So that in the case of a few, this inquiry, self-inquiry, who am I, what is this happening, what is happening in life, all these related questions happen in the case of some people, which is what we call spiritual seeking. So my point is, even the happening of the spiritual seeking is part of the functioning of manifestation or life as we call it.
So, Ramesh, what are the mechanics of the process whereby I feel that I exist, that I am a separate entity, that I am the doer? How does that take place? How does life persuade me that I am a doer?
You see, basically, every human being, what is the basic feeling? Basic feeling for every human being is, I am, I exist. Listen, basically, I am, I exist. Even a baby, the very first day of its existence, feels presence. The baby, the separation is not there, but the feeling of existence is there. So my point is, as soon as the manifestation came into being, the source, the unmanifest, which there was no need for that unmanifest to be aware of itself. All there is the source. The source doesn't have to be aware of itself. But once the manifestation happened, the source, one became the many, and along with the manifestation happened, there was the sense of awareness. I am. In other words, what I'm saying is, mind you, I repeat again, all this is a concept. The source or the unmanifest or the unicity for which there was absolutely no need to be aware of anything. Once that manifestation happened, the source became aware of itself, which is the impersonal awareness of being. I am. So this impersonal awareness of being, impersonal consciousness, became identified with each body-mind organism as a separate entity through the technical word, in Hindu word is Maya. I explained it to myself as divine hypnosis. Egos were necessary. So, by divine hypnosis, the thought, I am this, happened, so that the impersonal awareness, I am, became the identified awareness. I am Ramesh, I am Mutribo, I am Susie, I am whatever. So it is still nothing other than the source functioning in this manifestation. The impersonal awareness of being, I am, identifies itself with each body-mind organism, including the animal mind, animal or the human being, identified with a particular body-mind organism as a separate entity.
So, Ramesh, if we're all just puppets,
Yes.
just robots, just
Yes.
instruments,
Yes.
what is the difference between the animal instrument and the human instrument?
Basically, as a sentient being, no difference. As a sentient being, the animal feels he is a separate entity. You see that. Give some food to a dog, another dog approaches. Fierce attitude. This food is mine. Mine is a separate entity. So the human being as well as the animal, the separateness as a separate being is the basic identification with a particular body-mind organism as the ego. The difference between the ego of the animal and the ego of the human being is, in the case of the animal, the ego is purely identification as a separate entity. But there is no sense of doership. There is no sense of doership. The dog or any animal accepts whatever is happening as a happening. And therefore, the tiger doesn't consider himself cruel, nor a cow considers herself gentle. So this distinction between doership is what distinguishes the human being from an animal. Doership associated with intellect. So what distinguishes a human being from an animal is intellect and the sense of personal doership.
Can I just go back to, you described the human being as basically a three-dimensional object.
Yes.
What is the basic quality of an object?
That's the point. The object can have no attribute. The object is an object, a thing.
And yet, each human being does have its own unique individual attributes.
Because of the ego. Because of the ego. No dog will consider himself handsome or not handsome. A human being will. So thinking intellect is the dubious advantage of the human being.
Right.
Because of which, in many cases, the human being becomes unhappy, and in identical circumstances, a dog wouldn't. An animal, a dog, let's say, what does he want to be happy, Mutribo? All he wants is sufficient to eat and drink and being pampered. That is all that the dog needs. But the human being has a whole list of wants. That is the intellect and the sense of doership. Therefore, it is much easier for an animal to be happy than for the human being.
It seems we're in a rather sad situation. If our happiness is less possible than a dog's.
Yes.
You spoke about the instrument and how it has its unique programming.
Yes.
Could you explain to me what you mean by that unique programming?
Sure, yes. Now, any human being, what is the human being? A uniquely programmed instrument. What is the unique programming? Mutribo, my point is, you didn't have any control over being born to particular parents.
Right.
Therefore, as an instrument, Mutribo had no control over what is called genes in this object. By the similar token, you had no control over being born to particular parents in a particular geographical environment and a particular social environment in that geographical environment. And in that social and geographical environment, this body-mind organism received its conditioning from day one. Conditioning at home, conditioning in school, conditioning in that social environment, conditioning in church or college, continuous hammering of what life is all about, conditioning about what should do, shouldn't do, and very often the child gets awfully confused when this conditioning in different clashes. The child is told something by the parents, and if the parents, the environment is highly competitive society, then that child will be told, nobody is going to give you anything on a plate. You have to fight for it. You have to work hard for it. In other words, the competitive element is put into that at home. He goes to school or to the church, and in the church he's told, if someone slaps you, give the other cheek. Then the parents tell him also, along with that, you have to do this, and he finds the parents doing exactly what he is told not to do. Confusion. Then what he is told at home, in school is different. Church or temple, another one. So pretty soon, because of this conditioning, the child gets awfully confused. And then what does he do? The child says, all this is rubbish. If I get no different, nothing is correct. So he starts thinking for himself. But the conditioning has had its basic effect. We at least know in the world, he finds something common. You have to do this, you must not do that. So my point is, programming to me means, I call it unique, because the genes, the DNA is unique. No two human beings, I'm told, can have the same DNA. Unique. And more research done on the genes. I read the report. More and more of what you do, whether the society considers it good or bad, is not you doing it, But you are doing it because you cannot help doing it because of the genes. More and more research, to a remarkable extent. The recent two I remember reading is, if you are a homosexual, don't blame yourself, it's the genes. But what really amused me was, if you are unfaithful to your partner, genes. If
Good excuse.
you are an alcoholic, genes. So you can take it either way. If it is the genes, I don't have to blame myself. But the point is, I don't have to blame myself. But living in a society, whether it is genes or anything, I shall be rewarded or punished according to my actions. Whether those actions are due to my conditioning or to genes, society doesn't care. So basic rule of life is, any action that happens, I am responsible. I am responsible for my actions. So as soon as I know that, as soon as the child knows that, the child accepts hypocrisy as part of life. The child comes to the conclusion, I may do whatever I like. All I have to make sure is I don't get caught. If I get caught, I am punished. You see? How the child, because of conditioning. Yes. So my point is, the programming means your genes plus up-to-date conditioning. Genes, at least for the present, I think, more or less fixed. What keeps changing in life is the conditioning. Now, what is happening now is conditioning, make no mistake. You are not hearing from any truth. I am not telling you any truth. All I am telling you is a concept of mine. So listening to that concept is fresh conditioning. And fresh conditioning can amend or alter the existing conditioning or even transform it, or no effect. So my point is, whatever anybody thinks at any moment, whatever even thinks any moment, and based on which he decides to do something, is, according to this concept, totally decided by the genes and up-to-date thinking.
So Ramesh, what I hear you saying is that I really have no essential individual nature. And yet, when I walk around, I feel something.
No, I don't say that. In fact, I say you have a peculiar nature. You do, and what is generally known as nature, I have analyzed into programming. Genes plus conditioning is your nature. So if you mean whatever anybody does is in, I would say yes.
So programming is another word for nature.
That is correct.
But what about that sense that we all carry around inside of ourselves of ourself? Some people call it the soul.
Yes.
Some people call it nature as well. That inner sense
Yes.
of identity that we all naturally have.
Yes.
Where does that fit in?
That fits in with the impersonal awareness.
But it feels so personal.
Where has the personality come from, Tribo? The basis of it is the impersonal awareness. So the personal awareness, you get involved in life, but you can never forget your source. And very often, not very often, but almost sometime during the day, the moment I feel it, the moment you wake up, especially if you happen to be on a holiday, moment you wake up, there is an awareness. That awareness is the impersonal awareness, which during a normal day, the identification quickly takes over.
Can you describe that awareness as you wake up? Can you describe it?
Yes. You know it yourself. You are on a holiday. It's warm. You're sleeping outside on the balcony. You wake up. You wake up early in the morning. The birds have awakened you. So in that moment, awareness is of open space, the birds, and you. That awareness is you and the birds and everything is one.
Right.
I repeat it. But when you're in normal day, enclosed by the four walls, the moment you wake up, the identity quickly grabs hold of you. But in such, when you realize, so what my point is, even though the impersonal consciousness has identified itself, it can never forget its own source. So whenever this covering gets removed, as wake up in the morning, so whenever that covering gets removed, even for a short while, you cannot help having glimpses of your original nature, which is the impersonal awareness.
And you said that the Maya, the divine hypnosis, is created by consciousness identifying with each individual body-mind.
Yes.
And that identification takes place so that life as we know it
Can happen. Yes.
But Ramesh, it seems a little bit like a cruel joke that consciousness identifies itself with individual body minds and then tries to get rid of the identification. Why?
So that life can happen. Muthibu. Let me put it another way. They also said, entertainment was a favorite word of Nisargadatta Maharaj. What is all life about? Entertainment. So, being sick, is it entertainment? You see? So then, point is, entertainment can never be entertainment. If it is all laughter, you laugh and laugh until your face cracks. That's not happiness. The basis of entertainment, as the basis of life, is interconnected opposites. You see? So, in order to have the simile I like, the metaphor I like, from this point of view, suffering is that the Maya, there again, the Hindu, Leela, entertainment. What is life? Leela, as part of the Maya. My interpretation is, life as it happens is a movie. A movie, the script of which has been written by consciousness. It is produced and directed by consciousness. Every character is played by consciousness and is witnessed by consciousness. We see the movie. We won't be able to see any movie unless consciousness is there. So even this movie on the screen, to witness it needs consciousness. So this movie of life, my concept is, it is a movie created, directed by consciousness. Most important, every character is played by consciousness. So who suffers? Consciousness is playing your role. Consciousness is playing the role of a millionaire. Consciousness enjoying all the pleasures through the millionaire, healthy millionaire. And the same consciousness must also want to experience the misery of the beggar on the street. So if this is the concept we keep in mind, so the entire movie comes and goes. Sometimes you have the millionaire on the screen, sometimes you have the beggar on the screen, sometimes you have a war-torn people on the screen. So all these varied scenes, important point I say, all these various scenes appear only on the screen. If the screen of consciousness were not there, the movie of life cannot happen, cannot be witnessed. So the basic point is existence of consciousness as the screen on which the movie of life happens.
So Ramesh, what you're saying is literally every single event, every single action of every single object is predetermined, is predestined. If I pick up my glasses and put them on,
Yes.
that is a predetermined action.
Yes, I'll tell you. This is precisely. Ramana Maharshi said the same thing. Everything is predetermined. Nothing can happen unless it is supposed to happen. So when there were several people in one occasion, someone interrupted and raised his arm. I said, now, raising my arm, surely it is what I have done. Is that also predetermined? Ramana Maharshi said, yes. Unfortunately, there the matter ended. Often when I come to that, I wish he had pursued. But if he had pursued, I know what Ramana Maharshi would have said. He would have, how can you say that? It's my action. Then my answer to that is, yes, it is your action. If this talk had not been going on, at that moment, would you have raised your arm? No. You raised your arm as a reaction to hearing everything is predetermined. So raising of the axe was a reaction to something else that was said. So if that something else had not been done, your action would not have happened.
So it seems, Ramesh, that your concept leaves me caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yes.
That if I am able to accept
Yes.
that I'm not the doer,
Yes.
all sense of freedom,
Yes.
of individuality, of dignity
Yes.
seems to fly out of the window.
Yes.
And if I'm not able to accept it,
Yes.
I'm destined to suffer.
Yes. So dignity, Mutribo. What dignity is there in slapping a subordinate who can do nothing to you? What dignity? The subordinate has to accept it. So dignity, work is worship. By doing a good deed, all this are values given by the human being. But whatever actually happens, according to my concept, is something which was supposed to happen according to the cosmic law, irrespective of whether the society considers at that time good or bad. And the fact of the matter, Mutriba, as you know, something happens. Some people will call it good, some people will call it bad. Happening of Jesus, was it not considered by some people to be bad and by some people good? 11th of September last year. Horror, people who saw it on the screen, absolute horror. And yet, some people thought that was a reward given to them by God in a measure more full than they themselves could have dared hope for. But there again, see, something which you want, something which you like, one, you don't know truly whether good or bad. Some people. Two, something happens and you thank God for a lot of money. Man wants a lot of money. He gets a lot of money. He is happy in that moment. But because of that very too much money, the children get spoiled. Is it good or is it bad? You see? So whatever you get, the satisfaction, whether it's going to change, you don't know. Therefore my point is, people say, whatever God does is for your best. You don't know. So my point is, whatever happens, judging it as good or bad, that varies. And even that, good or bad, from what point of view? Immediate or later? No one knows. So considering what happens from my point of view, and considering what every different ways of perception differs. So whatever happens is a happening. The perception of different people differs. So whatever happens is exactly what is supposed to happen according to the cosmic law.
You mentioned September the 11th.
Yes.
Are you saying that had to happen because of a cosmic law?
Yes.
That's a very hard thing to take on board.
Interconnected opposites, Butribo. Happening of Christ, cosmic law. Mother Teresa, cosmic law. Ramana Maharshi, cosmic law. Ramakrishna Paramhans, cosmic law. Saddam Hussein, cosmic law. Hitler, cosmic law. Osama bin Laden, cosmic law. And all these, Hitler, I don't know whether you ever saw it, probably much before your time. I have seen Hitler delivering his address, thousands of people, absolute raptures, thousands of Germans in raptures. For them, he is God. Why? Because after the First World War, the peace treaty that was hammered into the German people was so bad, it just crushed the Germans. And at that time, the German people had need of someone who, out of that total depravity, would raise the Germans some semblance of pride. And that is what Hitler did. So for certain Germans of that time, he was God. But for millions of Jews, he was death.
And how does someone who was in a concentration camp, Ramesh, who hears your concept, who has suffered because of the event of Hitler, how does that person make sense, understanding your concept intellectually and yet feeling whatever the suffering has been for him or herself? How does he or she make sense of it?
He can't. That is life.
So life doesn't make sense.
On the other hand, it's interesting you mentioned this. I remember reading quite some time ago a report of what happened on a particular occasion. One of Hitler's gas chambers. A queue of people going towards their death. Incidentally, I'll come back to it. I remember a Far Side calendar joke. The butcher house, number of cows. One cow is trying to get in. He said, "Get into line." That's a typical Far Side joke. So the whole queue of people, and then the reporter, suddenly from there, one man puts his hands up, starts laughing. Total euphoria. Total euphoria. He jokes with the guards as he keeps on walking towards the door of the church. He jokes with the guards. And the guards, of course, say, he's gone crazy. But yes, he's suddenly gone crazy with being with his real nature. You mentioned it. I read it. Now, what you say, this happened to one. What about the 99? Then to what happened to 99 was precisely what was supposed to happen according, but to that one after 99, that was supposed to happen. So this sudden realization of his true nature had to happen to that one man in such circumstances. There again, this total understanding can happen in any circumstances.
And if I decide to object to God's will and fight against it, that is also God's will.
That is indeed God's will. And point is, out of that revolt against God, what will emerge from Mutribo or for the world, no one can know. One instance in this Hindu mythology, I've always known, is there's a sage Parashar, real sage with the gift of giving boons. He is crossing a river. He's being ferried across by a young woman, 16, 17 years, in full bloom. She smells like a fish. She smells like a fish. But the sage Parashar, in any case, falls madly in love with her. So, he lives with her for a year. She becomes pregnant. And then when the child is born, sage Parashar tells her, I'll come after 12 years and take the child away. In the meantime, you have 3 boons. Ask for anything you want. 3 wishes. So first she says is, I want my virginity restored. Done. 2, I want this fishy smell removed. Done. But the third one is I forget. You see? So, and the child that was born was ultimately the sage Vyas, who wrote the Bhagavad Gita. You see? So, for Vyas to be born, the father had to be someone like Parashar. So this incident had to happen. So my point is, for an Einstein to be born, certain requirements were necessary, and those had to be satisfied, and they were satisfied. So even this resisting God is precisely the will of God.
So there's no escaping God's will.
There is no escape. Now, another Hindu mythology, Ramana, Ram's great enemy. The descriptions as I hear it, Rama was on the battlefield. Ravana comes to meet him. And what Rama felt, there's a description. What a magnificent man. Rama's reaction. What a magnificent man. He admired him. You see? But the fight had to happen. Therefore, Ravana, at the sight of Rama's wife, he kidnaps her, and the rest of the thing follows. So my point is, we say this happened because Sita was kidnapped, Rama had to go and fight him. And because he fought him, Ravana had everything in Ravana was destroyed. And after everything was destroyed, the good times came in. So my point about the usual human way of thinking is, A happened, that's why A led to B. B led to C. C led to D. I've always felt, can we not see it the reverse way? D had to happen, therefore C had to happen. Therefore B had to happen. And for B to happen, A had to happen. In other words, we see a causation. I see that both arrows. Cause leads to effect. For effect to happen, the cause had to be there. So when we see the whole movie, then we see there is a wholeness about it. There is a completeness about it, which we think only from bits and pieces. We say this is good, that is bad.
But that is the only way we're allowed to live our lives, in bits and pieces.
Exactly.
So the vision of the whole movie is difficult.
Seeing the whole movie is not difficult. But watching the movie in parts is very difficult. That's why I said World War I. A bad treaty Nowadays, that kind of a treaty wouldn't be done. So, end of World War, Germany is defeated, bad treaty leads to Hitler arising, Hitler, World War II, Pearl Harbor, atomic. You see? So, which way are you going to say it? Bits and pieces, terrible times. But as a movie, the whole movie in the can, then you see it differently. Right. So my point is, the whole movie has already been done, it's already in the can, and we are viewing it in bits and pieces.
Right. So Ramesh, your concept of a programmed human being doesn't leave much room for the feeling of freedom for an individual. It's a cherished idea for most people, and also this idea of some essential individual entity inside each human being, what some people call the soul.
Yes.
Does the soul exist?
Only in your mind. Where is the soul? Even the ego can't be seen, Mutribo. Where is the ego?
But I mean, it doesn't have to be seen to be felt.
All right. Ego you feel. Where is the soul? Where is the soul? Conscience. Where is the conscience? Conscience is what the mind is told for more sense of bondage. So my whole point is, you talked of freedom. You said without this free will, man will lose his sense of freedom. That's what you said.
Yes. Freedom
from what, Mutribo? The man will lose his freedom. If he is totally, you have no free will, he loses his freedom, you said. Freedom from what, Mutribo?
I think it would be freedom for making a choice. Freedom for feeling that he had some say in the matter.
Yes. Yeah. So that really, it is not freedom. All you want is the pride of doership. What is freedom? Pride of doership. If I want to jump from out of the window, if I want to do it, I should do it. I should be able to do it. That's the kind of freedom, isn't it? But what is the real freedom from? In a man's life, as it happens, what is truly the free, what does any human being at any level of, except the people below the poverty line. Let me make it perfectly clear. Whatever I am talking does not apply to anyone below the poverty line. Therefore, when I say, what does an ordinary person want in life? I mean, what does any ordinary person, east or west, who is reasonably comfortable in life, want in life? Not below the poverty line. All they want, minimum of food, shelter and clothing. So we forget for our purposes, we forget the people below the poverty line. So the question really is, what does an average person in the east or west, who is reasonably comfortable in life today, what does he want? I would say freedom. You see? Freedom from what? Personally, as freedom from hating himself, freedom from hating others. Man is comfortable in at various levels, but comfortable. What does he lack? At whatever level, every person has some time or the other hated himself for doing something which he shouldn't have done, or not doing something which he should have done. Hated him. And every time the thought from memory arises, he relives the incident, which again makes him hate himself. Or something which someone else has done. So my point is that something which the human being cannot free itself is this inevitability to hate himself for certain things, hate others for other things. And this hate arises, he has no control over the hate arising at any time. At the best of times, when he says he is totally happy, this hate can arise and destroy that deep peace or happiness. So my point is, what is the freedom from?
Yeah.
What is the basic freedom with the human being who is reasonably comfortable in life? Freedom from what?
Ramesh, if I can accept your concept, it
Yeah.
seems to bring up two things for me. One, what's to stop me if I'm not responsible for anything, if
Yes.
I'm simply a programmed object, a
Yes.
puppet, what's to stop me just sitting around all day?
One.
Or
Yes.
on the other hand,
Yes.
going into my closet,
Yes.
taking out my AK-47
Yeah.
and going to the supermarket and shooting a bunch of people.
Which has been happening,
Just now.
which has been happening for some time now. The latest when you heard of the sniper.
Yes.
So now this happening. So what you can say, what are you saying then, Mutribo? What is to prevent me from taking an AK-47, going out and shooting a lot of people?
Yes.
That is the question, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I'm not responsible for it.
You are, wait a minute. You are not responsible for it as far as you are concerned. You are not responsible for it. Therefore, you need not hate yourself as far as you are concerned. But the happening as part of life will take its course. You are not responsible as far as you are concerned, Mutribo. But you are responsible where the society is concerned. But apart from that, my point is, what is to prevent me from going out and killing a few people? Answer is, your very nature, your programming. Even if now law will take its course. But supposing you are in a society where you are in a position to stop the working of the law, you have immunity to do such a thing. Even in that course, would you really think Mutribo or an average person would be able to take gun and kill a lot of people?
No.
Why not? Because your nature will not let you be. So your freedom to do that is itself stopped by your nature, which is your programming. On the other hand, if you happen to be schizophrenic, with your programming that of a schizophrenic, you would do that in any case. So basically what I am saying is, any action that anybody would even think of doing is based on his programming.
But Ramesh, what about the point of me just lying around and doing nothing all day?
Yes, good point. So, Mutribo said, "What? I'm not going to kill anybody," agreed. But why can't I not lay in bed and not do anything? So Mutribo saying, not do anything is only physical, isn't it? It's only physical. My point is, Mutribo does nothing. It is the primal energy functioning through this body-mind organism called Mutribo who brings about action, physical and mental. Mutribo may think he can curb his physical action. What about the mental action? And the mental action can be so strenuous that Mutribo will decide to get up. You see?
Ramesh, can I go back to my birth?
Yes.
What you're saying to me is that what was born was a three-dimensional object with a particular programming, a
Yes.
unique programming,
Yes.
which came from my unique DNA and my
Yes.
particular conditioning,
Yes.
in order that certain actions could take place through
yes,
this instrument
at any particular time
at
and
any
place.
particular,
Yes.
according to a cosmic law.
Quite correct. That is my concept.
Was there anything
Yes.
inside of this thing that came from before that I could identify as me? Did I exist in a previous life? And am I on some sort of journey of progression, of evolution, of progress
Yes.
as me?
In other words, what you're talking about is a theory of rebirth,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes.
Now, what is the basis of rebirth, Mutribu? Personal doership. What do the people who believe in rebirth, what do they say? If Mutribo is having trouble in this life, that is because Mutribo did something in his previous life which he shouldn't have done. Right. And therefore, if Mutribo wants a good life in the future, Mutribo should be a good boy now. And what is being a good boy? Lead an ascetic life. Don't indulge in anything. In other words, if Mutribo wants a good life in future, he should not have a good life now. So, Mutribo says, I don't remember having done anything bad. So am I being asked not to have pleasures in this life so that some Mutribo in future will have his good life?
Right.
I mean, that's the basic part of it, isn't it?
Right.
I am asked to give up the good life now so that some other ego in the future. So in order to meet this argument, they brought in the soul.
Right. Right.
So I say, I don't know any soul. I'm only concerned with my pleasure. If some soul has been, but in this life, no soul is suffering. I'm suffering. And I'm suffering, according to this theory, because you have nothing to do with it.
So what is reborn? Is there anything reborn? There are other lives.
But no reborn. That is my point. Lives keep, of course there are lives. But again, I'll give you an objection to this. They say, Buddha remembered 300, whatever number of lives. Here are the instances of children being taken, Indian children somewhere, where they remember, this is my house, this is where I was supposed to live, this is my husband, my children are grown up now. This is my husband who pushed me into the well and killed me. They pointed out. So my point about that is, certainly in that particular child, there is a memory of a previous life. When that conception took place, for some reason which God knows, the memory of that was implanted into this conception. So whatever the memories of a past life are memories of a previous life. I still never understand why and when I say your previous life, whose previous life? Only one I would say, Mutribo's previous life.
I think the thing is, when people have those experiences, and many people have had strong, what they call past life experiences,
Yeah.
the feeling, the experience is so personal. It seems to be so connected to the me as that person knows him or herself,
Yes.
that it's difficult not to assume
Yeah.
that it was you in a previous life that you're re-experiencing now.
Yeah, but then that is never there. That is truly never there. All you feel is an ego in that body mind, sure. And an ego in a previous life, you get a memory of an ego in a previous life. You see? So my point is, Buddha remembered all his lives, not his life, but so many different, through which the evolution of that particular happening of emancipation or enlightenment happened. So therefore, any event of self-realization is an impersonal event which has to be evolved. Ramana Maharshi. He confessed, I've never been a seeker. I've never done a day's sadhana. How did this happen? His own prayer. In some life, his words I have read, in some life, sadhana must have been done. Some life, sadhana must have been done. So 10 lives or 100 lives, each life something was done, some suffering had been done. So that in the life called Ramana Maharshi, no sadhana was necessary.
Right, right.
So, yeah.
So actually, what is born is a three-dimensional object with programming, and within each body-mind's DNA, there is a collection of memories from maybe lives and lives and lives
Yes.
that are there because in this life, that body-mind has a particular destiny that needs to be fulfilled.
That's it.
Right.
That particular life, that as soon as the conception is there, then that conception has a certain destiny. And for that destiny to be fulfilled, whatever needs to happen is going to happen.
And Ramesh, what's the mechanics of what you're describing? So I die. What
No.
is left?
Mutribo can never die.
This body-mind dies.
Yes.
What is left?
Yes.
What happens to that? Like the psychic elements, the memories, the unfulfilled desires.
Yes.
What's the process? How does this happen?
My concept, Mutribo, is not only after death, but while living, any hopes that are dashed, any ambitions that are fulfilled, all of it and the thoughts go according to in a pool of consciousness. Nothing can be destroyed. They all go in a pool of consciousness. And from that pool of consciousness, according to the cosmic law, certain things are infused in a new conception. So what gets infused from the totality of, no one can know. We can only accept that from that sea of consciousness, something has been infused. What gets infused? Only the cosmic law, only God knows.
So, as it were, the leftover psychic and mental baggage from each body-mind
Yes.
then goes into this pool of consciousness.
That's right.
And gets redistributed.
So nothing from a particular one goes into, that is my concept. It goes into the pool of consciousness. And what from that pool of consciousness goes into any new conception is God's will or cosmic law.
And nothing to do with the individual from whom that psychic phenomena came.
There is no individual from whom
Right.
the side.
Right. Nothing to do with the body-mind.
Nothing to do with any other individual life.
Right, right.
In other words, basically, a three-dimensional object is created and a three-dimensional object is destroyed
Right.
by burning or buried or whatever.
Right. Ramesh, I think for many people, when you talk about destiny,
Yes.
The cosmic law, destiny in terms of
Individual.
an individual
What-
body-mind,
Yes.
I think many people, I know I suffered from it myself, I think one of my biggest fears in my life was that I would miss my destiny if I didn't do enough. What your concept is giving me now is the relaxation that no one has ever missed their destiny, that it's impossible for me to do. Is that correct?
And that is the freedom I'm talking about. Freedom from worry about destiny.
Right.
That is the freedom I'm talking about.
So no one ever, at any time, past, present or future, has ever been able to miss their destiny.
The very meaning of the word destiny is there. So it makes me laugh. Somebody wanting to change his destiny. Then that change is the new is the destiny.
Right. Right. It's like a puzzle that you can't get behind. You can never step out of it.
Again, the metaphor of a movie. Whatever is going to happen in real 5 is there already.
Right. Right.
So you can't do anything in reel 2 to change your destiny in reel 5.
Right.
It's there already.
Right. Okay, so I think my last question, I can see the relaxation, the freedom that your concept gives me, particularly in relation to this destiny.
Yes.
I can also see that there is a painful giving up that has to happen of ideas of my free will, my
Yes.
freedom,
Yes.
my dignity,
Yes.
my control, my power, my ability to do things.
Yes. In other words, you have to give up the feeling that you are an individual person and not a programmed robot.
And that's difficult. It's difficult for the ego.
And it is supposed to be difficult, Mutribo, for the ego. Otherwise, everybody would have been self-realized.
So, can you give me a bit more good news? I can see that I can see that it is very relaxing, that I can't miss my
I'll
destiny.
give you the best news, Mutribo.
Okay.
Mutribo is not concerned. What better news can you have? Mutribo is truly not concerned with whatever happens anywhere in the world. Again, Ramana Maharshi, God created the world, let him look after it. But at the moment, I told you, the scene in Norway, beach in Norway, seals being washed ashore, people killing them by beating them on the head for their skins. Krishnamurti saw it, and in effect what he said was, I can do nothing about it. Why should I suffer seeing it? He switched off his TV. Same scene was seen by the famous actress Brigitte Bardot. She couldn't sleep a wink. Not because she didn't want to sleep, she couldn't sleep. She couldn't sleep. So the next morning she started a movement. She wrote letters to the newspapers, called up people. She started a movement which gained strength so quickly, very soon comparatively, the government was forced to ban the practice. So, it was not Krishnamurti's destiny to be affected by it as strongly as it was Brigitte Bardot's destiny. And it was Brigitte Bardot's destiny to be affected so that this could happen.
And Ramesh, if it's not my destiny
Yeah.
to be able to accept that there's nothing I can do, what is likely to be the course of my life? What is likely to be my destiny from that non-acceptance?
Exactly what is destined. Exactly what is destined. Maybe. So in other words, what we mean is, if this total understanding happens to happen now, what is my future life going to be like? If I have the total understanding now, how is it likely to affect my life in future? That I can tell you. What is likely to happen is, what bothered you so much every now and then, next time it happens, Mutribo is likely to say, what does it matter? Somebody tells, so-and-so was speaking about you, and he speaks saying bad things about you. Really? Now, okay, let him. So, in other words, what I'm saying is, life will almost certainly be much simpler for Mutribo. Simpler for very simple reason. Whereas previously, Mutribo used to blame himself for something, or he blamed someone else. Now, knowing no one truly does anything, this is absolutely no need to blame anyone for anything. Therefore, he sees no reason to blame himself for anything, nor blame anyone else for anything. With the result, he faces life without the usual previous load of shame and guilt for his doubtful action, pride and arrogance for his successful action, and hatred and malice, fear, jealousy and envy towards the others. Just imagine, Mutribo, living your life without that enormous, massive load.
You say my life is likely to become simpler
Yes.
if that were to happen. Will it be happier?
No. Well, it will be certainly be happier to the extent that happiness depends on simplicity.
Right.
Certainly will. But if you mean, is my wealth going to increase? Is my health going to be better? I don't know. That depends on your destiny. In this, it is rather an important point. I used to say this. Your life need not necessarily be easier. That depends on your day. But life will certainly be simpler. Therefore, how does it affect? So I said, this understanding happens because the understanding, one way or another, can have nothing to do with the happening of life, which has already been decided according to cosmic law. That has already been, the movie is in the can. So difference is only your attitude to what is happening. What is happening is going to happen. But the same happening, its effect on you, your attitude to life, that is the one which is going to change. So what happens cannot change. But your reaction to what is happening can change enormously. So I repeat again, my concept is life need not necessarily be easier, but it could be easier. But what changes radically is your attitude to life, which makes you feel happier than you used to. Life it cannot affect, but your attitude to life changes. And I mentioned this, and some person who used to be here regularly, one day he really got angry. So he said, Ramesh, you keep saying that, and the more I come here, the more angry I get. He said, I'll tell you my experience. And his experience was, he is in marketing. You see. So, with this understanding, as the understanding went deeper, whenever he went and saw a prospective customer, he found himself approaching the customer with less and less of strain or stress. So he found himself tackling or dealing with a customer much more relieved. And he said, I could see the effect. I could see that whereas there was a certain tension in the customer. Oh, here's that man again. What is he going to? Somehow he said, I could feel him. I saw my customers welcoming me, whereas previously there was a distance between us. And the result, he said, is I dealt with exactly the same way. I offered them whatever I offered before. But now something suddenly, an enormous intimacy, friendly intimacy had sprung up, with the result, he said, that because of my acceptance that I am not the doer, and whatever is going to happen has already been done, he said, my business had doubled and even trebled. So how can I say my life is not easier? My answer to him was, that this understanding had to happen was your destiny. And the effect of this, because of your being in marketing, was also part of your destiny. But it need not have been there. So my point is, what happens in life has nothing to do with this understanding.
Yeah, I understand. One last thing, Ramesh.
Yes.
This acceptance that you speak of, the acceptance that we are simply three-dimensional programmed objects with no free will, has happened in you. Can you tell me what life looks like from your point of view?
Simple. You see, what makes life complicated? I'll tell you what makes life. What is the mechanics of what is happening? I see something, and there is a reaction. I see something, there is a reaction, pleasant or unpleasant, basically. That pleasant or unpleasant reaction is in the body-mind organism. You see? As soon as something happened in that, the ego, reacted to that basic reaction. Anger happened. I would say, I got angry. I shouldn't get angry. Now, what is happening is, whatever reaction happens in any body-mind organism, something happens. Three people see it, same thing. I see three reactions in three body-mind organisms. Anger in one case, fear in a second, sympathy in a third. Same thing, same. So when I can see different reactions in different body-mind organisms, I don't exclude myself from one of those body-mind organisms. So whatever reaction happens in the body-mind organ is seen and accepted as a reaction in the body-mind organism. The ego has nothing to do with it. Previously, the ego reacted to the natural reaction. Now, the ego does not react to the natural reaction, not only, but in any body-mind organ. That is why life becomes simple. And important point, Mutribo, is I have accepted that the reaction in the body-mind organism, in this body-mind organism, will continue to depend on the programming in this body-mind organism. So I accept the reaction in this body-mind organism because I can do nothing about it, nor can anyone else do anything about the programming in that body-mind organism. So with that understanding, rarely ever there's a question, how could he have done thing like this? And it's especially more so when people are talking about another, say, guru. Say. He is supposed to be a guru. He is supposed to be self-realized. How could he have done such a thing? With knowing that nobody does anything, whatever happened had to happen according to the programming in that body-mind organism. Let me take an extreme case. Suppose some body-mind organism, there is a strong sense of homosexuality. That their final understanding has happened, that he has become a sage, is not necessarily going to change that programming. That homosexual strip will still be there. So if according to destiny, circumstances lead that strip, that strength, that item of homosexuality to arise, it will arise. You see? It will arise or not, depending not on him, but according to the cosmic law. And the result of it also will be cosmic law. There was some guru like that in the south. And he was supposed to have, dealt with some women. There is not homosexuality, a strong sexuality. And then he was put in jail. And they were surprised that this man accepted his being in jail. He wasn't shouting. So that man had accepted whatever happened as his destiny. That people came to him, listened to what he said, raised him on a pedestal. He accepted that. But when this happened and they threw him out, he accepted that also. That now doesn't happen. How could he have done such a thing? Doesn't arise. How could he have done? That doesn't arise. So if someone says, that guru did that and the other, I smile. Who is going to? But I know nobody can do anything.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sure.